Hey there. Just thought I'd talk a little bit about, if you're in a business that's kind of in the $1 to $3 million bracket. So if you're turning over in a 1 to 3 million, $4 million bracket, and maybe the five pain points that you really need to uh, know if you want to take your business and scale it to that next level, because different levels of business usually come with different pain points. As an example, if you're 1 to 300,000, there's a pain point of doing it all yourself. Usually, you're maybe a solopreneur. You kind of got to figure that out. Generating leads is another big one that you have to try to figure out. 300 to $1 million mark. Usually you're going to be trying to employ one or two people. Cash flow is always going to be a situation that you're doing. And then I suppose it goes up to the next level. So it becomes, seven figures, 1 million to 3 million and so forth. And I reckon there's five kind of major pain points that any business that's in that area needs to deal with. Number one is cash flow. I think in a lot of different business, regardless of 10, 15, $20 million business, if you haven't got the cash flow sorted out, I think it's critical. And I don't think it's just cash flow. I think it's actually cash management. So, having that ready to go is really important. A lot of businesses at the 1 to 3 million mark are struggling by, there's a lot of outgoings. And depending on the, what's called the velocity of return, in other words, how quick you get your money back, it could cripple you, especially, let's say, if you're in the construction industry, you've got to set up, there's progress payments that'll come in, but, there's setup costs of, let's say if you're building commercial property or whatever it may be, there may be $1 million just in setup cost to get, it up to the stage of where the progress payment happens. So I think cash flow and cash management, something that you need to do. What's a good solution around that? Obviously, you have some funding in place that you're going to be able to tap into and or future projection of, when the velocity of return comes in. So I think project managing money is really, really critical. Number two, I think, is employees. This is a bane of, most business owners' existence. I think when you're in a particular level of the 1 to 3 million, I think getting the right personnel is critical. And there's two kind of choices that you need to make. One, get somebody that you're going to get a little bit cheaper as an employee and train them in the way that you want them trained. Or number two is you pay top dollar and get people that are already have got a skill set that they can bring to it, which kind of narrows the market efficiency, if you want to think about it that way, or speed to market of getting that person productive and or whatever you need them to do within the business. So I think that's really, really critical. The other thing I think is getting really good employees, regardless of what they are, whether they're semi-skilled or super skilled, is really critical as well. So I like to say, number one, do a DISC profile. DISC profile just shows you the different type of personality type that people are. It's not the end game or solution for everything, but at least it gives you a good understanding on how to communicate with that individual. Number two, make sure that the right person for the job. Unfortunately, a lot of business owners in the 1 to 3 million category or under also suffer a lot with, people that say that they can do the job, but they can't, right? Remember, one employee costs you probably 6 months worth of time, energy, and money to try to replace. By the time you sack the person that wasn't happening, replace them with somebody else, it's kind of painful, right? So you need to make sure you're right. And number two, to make sure that you've got the right education. If you don't have a clear direction of what you want that employee to do, even before you've started looking around for that employee, I think you're going to end up in strife. And if you want to grow, especially, you don't have the time to, waste a lot of time on not having the right employee to start with, and number two, not educating them efficiently, because time's money, right? Yeah, very important. Number three is funding. A lot of people, in order to scale past that, early seven-figure mark, is really difficult. If you don't have the money to grow, I'm not talking cash flow, but I'm talking more funding. To be able to get to that next level, it's really, really difficult. And as scalability needs to come with that. You've got, extra assets that you need to put in place, regardless of the type of business, whether it's going to be a service or product. If it's product, it's even more. If you want to grow, obviously, you've got to order product. There's stock control issues that you need to look at. So having funding that sits there in order to hire really good talent And number two, create efficiency within the business without stressing out on where the next dollar is going to come from is I think super critical. So having some type of investment, whether it's going to be something like angel investment and or business investment, short term, especially if it's going to be for product or for growth benefits that you can get a reasonably quick velocity return and you can pay that back, would be really good. Number four is management. I think, when you get to the $1 to $3 million bracket and you want to grow past that, I think it becomes less about managing the business per se and more about managing the people. So, as a CEO, a lot of business owners are still stuck in putting out fires every day. They're doing stuff that is non-high return on investment activity, right? They're doing stupid stuff that they could probably delegate and or put a system or process into place that just makes it super easy. So I think management is really critical. Management of self, time management, and employee management is super critical. And I think understanding, first of all, what your role is and how you can move some of those other, roles that you're doing at the moment and outsource them or, figure out a way that somebody else within the team can help take that load off you, I think is super critical. And you just have to get really good with, building a really good culture, starting to look at how to retain an employee. I think the 1 to 3 million mark, that type of employee is, reasonably difficult to come by because they're in high demand. So it's not like somebody, hey, they're just a laborer and they're just filling in a spot. Usually in the 1 to 3 to $5 million mark, you've got some skill sets that people definitely want. And there's a lot of people that offer good money for somebody, so you need to keep them there. They need to know why they're at that type of role and what their role looks like moving forward. So managing that role is critical as well. And I think the last one is time segmentation. I don't like to say that it's time management. I think it's about segmentation. Nobody in business ever has any time. So I think understanding how to segment your time is really critical. And I think from the segmentation part is you can do two roles at one time. You can be thinking about one thing and also doing another activity simultaneously. I think it's how you devote your time to it. I think you need to get really precious with time in order to grow up, because it goes less about the hands-on stuff or doing, the let's call it the grunt work, so to speak, and more about understanding, forecasting, looking at where the business is going. How do you spend time managing others? How do you think about shoring up really good relations that are going to help into the future as well? So if you think of those, 5 things, so cash flow, employees, funding, management, time segmentation, I think these will definitely help you, to start to grow to that next level. Obviously having a, super awesome plan moving forward, that's reverse engineered. A plan executed is better than no plan not executed. So I think those 5 major key areas would help you on your way. All right, hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Nick Sala, and remember, the only way is